Hey everybody, I'm here with your favorite piece of equipment in this entire gym, the Assault Air Bike, or compassionately known by some as the Devil's Bike. This is a fantastic piece of equipment. It offers one of the best resistance to metabolic ratios that you can get in this gym to increase your fitness level. So it is a piece of equipment that I highly recommend you getting comfortable with, regardless of how uncomfortable that may be to get there. Today we are going to talk about some efficiency for this sweet piece of machinery. Talking about some tips to help you get those RPMs moving a little bit quicker, get those calories pumping up a little bit higher, and putting a little bit more of your energy into what you're going to get out from that computer screen. So starting off today, I want to talk about a little bit about how the monitor works. Majority of the time that we use this, the piece that we're trying to get out of it is calories. These computers are set up in a somewhat unfair advantage depending on who you ask. If you ask me, the short guy that doesn't get out a lot of energy, not super powerful, I think it's a little bit unfair because I'm gonna get a few less calories than somebody that is a little bit bigger than me, a little bit stronger on that power output, say a Cody Hayes, for example. Thanks, man. But he's gonna get some more energy output because of how the computer's set up in an exponential growth rate curve. So what I mean by that, getting kind of nerdy here, is when you start pumping that bike, if you pump it harder all the time, you're gonna get more calories per second than you would if you backed off a little bit and just tried to rest. So if I pump it harder and harder and harder, I put in more force, I'm gonna get more calories per pedal, basically. So if I'm just casually strolling at a 60 RPM as opposed to an 100 RPM, I'm gonna get a whole lot less calories. It's gonna seem unfair because those 100 RPMers are gonna get 1, maybe 2 calories every time they cycle that pedal around in a circle. Whereas at 60, it's gonna take me 2, maybe 4 pedals in order to get a calorie, even though I am doing 4 more rotations at 60% of the work. I should be getting more out of it. Not how these work. So when you're on those short sprints especially, really pump them out. Really get that thing going. That's why you see a lot of those 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off kind of mentalities on these bikes. Kind of depends on the workout that you're in though. So going off of that, we're going to talk about how to best set this up so that regardless of what RPMs you're putting onto it, you can get more RPMs out of the monitor, regardless of the, you could call it stroke rate, pedal rate. The first we're going to talk about is the seat placement. This may be something that you don't commonly think of, but it's something that makes all the difference in the world. Now I set this seat totally different than where I normally set mine to sabotage myself a little bit. But if I hop on that bike and I have that pedal all the way down, you can see that when I set here, I have a nice big bend in my knee. That is not something that you want. That means that I can extend my leg quite a bit more than that pedal is gonna allow me to when I start cycling. I'm not gonna get all the way to this nice, almost locked out position. So when you find and set up that seat, for your height setting, you are gonna want, and this is where I actually bike from, that when you're on that pedal and in that bottom position, you are nearly locked out. The reason for doing this is when I pedal down and I hit that bottom position, so I'm coming from the top and I'm coming down and I hit that bottom position, I almost lock out. I don't fully lock out, but it sets kind of a rubber band type mentality. So when you pull out a rubber band and then you release that tension and shorten it automatically, you are going to create more energy that gets released.
if I'm only short or pulling that rubber band halfway as opposed to all the way, I'm not going to get quite as much energy. So for that height adjustment, going to where that knee is almost locked down. Now, it also moves forward and backwards. Now, again, sabotaging myself when I'm on this seat and I'm in a good position, which we'll talk about here in a bit, on that far away handle, I really have to reach to get out here. It is an uncomfortable distance to when I am starting to pedal that I have to go in order to hit that end range. So, when we're thinking about that distance, what you want to think about is when you extend, you're comfortably extended. So I can sit here with a relatively tall chest, a little bit of forward lean, talk about that here in a second. I can get all the way out here comfortably. I'm not really pushing like I was just a second ago, but I can comfortably hit this nice position. So that's going to be a little bit variable. For me, it's right in the middle. That can also change some of the musculature engagement in your lower half. But ideally speaking, you want to think about it as that arm length distance. Now, when we talk about how to best utilize this machine, short durations, long durations, we want to think about that chest position. A lot of CrossFit is dictated by our chest, our midline position. This is where everything starts, that core to extremity type mentality where all the power starts here and then it shifts out into our extremities. Think about a baseball pitch. If I'm throwing, I'm starting here, everything gets loaded here, and then as I throw that ball, I am working upper arm, lower arm, wrist, fingers. Same mentality here. I want to generate as much force as I can from a strong position while also being able to breathe in the best manner that I can. So like I said earlier, it's a fantastic metabolic piece as well as resistance. So I want to be able to breathe. So just like running, I want to keep my chest high. This way I can take full breaths the entire time I'm on the bike. The second I dip down here, I am collapsing my lungs and I'm not going to be able to get those full breaths that I want. That being said, some of you might say to yourself, well, James, I can't see the monitor, so I don't really know how many calories I'm out. And this is where I'm going to rock your world. You can still see the monitor if I'm looking straight out ahead of me. I just got to peek my eyes down, look down through my mustache. If you don't have a mustache, I suggest getting one. They're fantastic. But for those of you who can't, just peek those eyes down, looking down through the bottom, trying to look at your nose, basically, cross-eye yourself, and just peek at the screen. You don't have to look at it the entire time. I promise the screen's not going anywhere. But say you're going to 10 calories, if you look down, you see you're at 8, sure, you can look down a little bit. But if you're harping on that monitor, I'm going to be looking down the entire time, and I'm not going to be able to expand my lungs and really build myself with air that is going to help me regulate lactic acid. Speaking of lactic acid, there is a concept called lactic acid threshold. It is what you feel when your muscles start to burn. Don't think of lactic acid as a bad thing. Lactate is actually one of the better energy utilization systems that you have in a workout. You build that lactate to burn through, which creates lactic acid. And if you can buffer that lactic acid, you're going to be able to go longer and go stronger. So the best way to buffer lactic acid is with big muscle groups. Those being your quads, your calves, your upper arms, chest, so on and so forth. Any muscle that's larger is going to be a better key. So when you're on this bike, I don't want you to really rip with your arms. These are smaller muscles. If you build lactic acid here, you're not going to be able to flush it out as well, especially when you're using those big, strong legs of yours to get that cycle going. So really pump those legs, let those arms push a little bit, but you don't want to be really ripping them out because you're not going to be able to buffer that lactic acid through those arms. A little bit nerdier, but in a simple, watered down term, use those legs. These are big, strong muscles. They're gonna get you to where you wanna go as fast as you possibly can. For today, that's gonna be all. Big legs, upright chest, set that seat right. Think about that exponential curve, get it going, you're gonna be in a great position. With that, if you want to talk about more on the assault bike, grab your coach, ask those questions, maybe set up that one-on-one personal training session. Highly recommend if you haven't given them a shot yet. All right, y'all have a great day.